Okay, so we're COMP308, and it's lesson 5, part 6 of this series. And we're talking about jQuery Mobile. We've already downloaded a couple things, a couple of items. We've downloaded the framework, and if you notice, jQuery 1.8.2 would be the latest version that we can download. 1.4.5 would be the way we can do it. Again, you can use these, or you could use the CDN. You can download them, or you can link to the CDN like we showed you before in other sections if you wanted to go production. From a production perspective, you don't want to have it with local files. You want to link to the CDN. That's the way to go. It's more efficient, faster, better for your users, right? So we want to create a single page. Well, we need a couple of things for a single page, and this is the stuff you need. First, we need to have a wrapper for our page we're going to create. We're going to use a div, and we're going to use this data-role of page, okay? Remember when we go back, whenever we use data-anything, right, it means that we're accessing JavaScript, the JavaScript that comes along with jQuery Mobile, okay? So let's do that. So I'm going to go back to Visual Studio, and I'm going to create a div, with a role, right? So data-page, and if I notice, once I've added in jQuery Mobile, it's trying to detect what I'm doing, right? Data-page, right? And that's the role that I have. So data-role is equal to page is what I really wanted to do. Sorry, data-role is equal to, and if I notice, it's page. And jQuery Mobile, now that it's part of my document, it gives me code hinting in Visual Studio. So here it is, right? And I want to give this page an ID of home. This is my first page, right? And this is my wrapper. So here's my wrapper for my home page, right? By the way, when we create a jQuery Mobile page, it's everything in one site, one big long page. And jQuery Mobile is going to use what? Ajax to reload pieces of its page based on different anchor tags that we're going to put in. So you're not making multiple pages for all the pages in jQuery Mobile. It's a single page site that all you're doing is you're taking the content from different sections of that site and displaying that content to make it look like you've loaded a new page. So you can do all your transitions and everything else, but all of those things, all the content you're loading are in the page itself. Now you could also use Ajax to load content just like we did last time in jQuery to fill in your content pieces from your existing site, which is what I'd want you to do. Oh, in order for you to do that, there's some tricks you got to play on jQuery Mobile. Okay, so your content wrapper is here. That's the first thing. The next piece, you need some kind of header, a header and a footer, and some kind of section in the middle where you have a data role of content. So we need two data roles now. We have a data role of header, a data role of content, and a data role of footer. Okay, so we need those pieces in there as well. So inside this, so here's, we'll say a div. It could be a footer or a div with a data role, right, of header. Right? Now it says header is there. It's not really coming up with that because maybe the latest version of jQuery Mobile doesn't have it, but this is where it is, right? And a div tag doesn't error out though, which is good. A div tag with a data role of content. That's really important, right? Need that tag in there. That's where our content's going to go. And another div tag. This is just sections for our content. A div tag with a data role of footer. Right? Those are the three things we need. So header, content, and footer, right? And let's put some content in there. So inside of our footer, we're going to have an H4 tag usually, an H4 tag, maybe with some kind of copyright. So copyright, right? Copyright 2015. And in our header, we're going to say some kind of H1 tag, like, welcome to home, whatever the home page is called. And then inside here, we're going to have some kind of paragraph tag with your content goes here. Now, if jQuery Mobile is working properly, if it's working properly, when I run this thing now, right, I should get styling based on jQuery Mobile. Take a look. All I've put is my wrapper together, and I get this styling right away. Right? It's instant. And this is the default styling that comes with jQuery Mobile. Right? So it's not custom styling or custom colors or anything like that. We're going to get to that piece. It's default styling that comes with, so it's instantaneously going to give us this kind of style. Right? And all I need is this wrapper. So this is each page of the wrapper is going to look like this. Let's do one page and then copy it, because we need to do a couple things. I want to put a nav on my page and stuff like that as well, right? So here's an example of, I've got a data role page with an ID of home, a header and a footer, right? Here's my section for my role. You can use a section or a div tag. If you want to be semantic about it, this would actually, you could actually change this to be header instead of div, a section for my content, and a footer for my footer. You could do that if you want it to be semantic, which is the right thing to do. So here's my wrapper, right? So this is my, well, let's put this in there as, here's page, my home page wrapper, home page wrapper. What I mean by that, it wraps this container, this div tag, wraps my home page so I can identify it to jQuery Mobile, right? That's what this thing does. And it ends down here after the last div tag, right? So this is my home page wrapper, right? Now, so here, if I want to make it semantic, I could just change this to header, right? I want to change this to header. I want to change this to section, right? Because that's what this is, a content section. And this is footer, right? And it would just work the same. If I was to refresh the page, it's not going to show any differently, right? It's just more semantic this way. We're following HTML5 semantic HTML rules, right? So when you read this thing as a developer, you look at it and go, okay, I know this is a header. Okay, I see this is a section. This is a footer, right? So you know what this is, right? And also from an SEO perspective, it's better, right? Because then from a search engine optimization perspective, when you have semantic HTML, it picks up the tags a little better than it would if you just have div tags. Div tags is the old way to do it. This is more semantic. Okay, that's the first piece. And if you notice, I've got this, a link, an li tag with an a tag, an anchor tag, with a link to home, different things. And I use a data icon, which I'm going to do, with a class of UI button active and all this kind of stuff. So let's set up, this is my nav. And the way to do this is to actually put it inside another div tag called nav with a data role of navbar. But you could also use nav as a semantic HTML. So let's do one at a time. So first, we need to put in this, and this is, by the way, inside the header, right? I'm going to put in a div tag with a data role of navbar, right? So here we go. Here's my header. Underneath my h1 tag, I'm going to put a div tag with a data role of navbar. So, and again, from a shorthand perspective, you can go data-role is equal to navbar, right? If I'm not wrong, just make sure that's correct, because the class has to be very specific, right? Navbar is one word, no dash. Data-navbar, that's my div tag, and inside my div tag, right? Inside my div tag, I need to have a UL, right? An unordered list with a bunch of list items, right? So, okay, I need a UL, right? And inside there, I need a list. I need at least one list item, right? And inside my list item, I need at least an anchor tag, right?
It's a plus, right?
No, this.
Inside. Oh, sorry.
I'm still cool.
I'm still
cool. Right? If I go dash, it gives me all the stuff I need, right? Here's my href tag, right? So this is my first list item, right? So here's my navbar. I've kind of put together my shorthand, right? And if you notice, I need to put in an ID. My ID's got to be in there, right? This my link is going to be going to home. My first home page, when I create my my navbar, it's going to go here. It's going to go to my home page wrapper. So this is my home page itself, right? And if you notice, down here inside the description between my a tag, right? I'm going to put this in there and say it's home. This is where my home is going to be, right? Make sure I've got this in the right place so I don't mess up. Yep, home. Okay, the other thing I put in here, I can leave it like this. This is a button, right? But one thing I also want to put in there is a data icon. I can put an icon in there later. And this UI button active we're going to put in there. I'm going to show you the difference. But for now, let's just put, we're going to create our nav bar, and I'm going to copy and paste some of these things now. Maybe I want to have a home. And remember, for you guys, you had a few sections, right? So we don't want to have all these sections, but one thing I definitely need is some kind of projects page. That's one thing you had in there. And we also want a page for services and maybe a page for contacts, and that's it, right? Because I'll put it in lowercase, actually. Sorry, because I haven't created these pages yet. I'm just kind of structuring my nav bar so that they point to these things, to projects, services, and contacts. Contact me. Or maybe I want to put an about me as well. You know, we'll see how it goes. Maybe just contact. So when I do this and then I run this thing, let's run it and see what it looks like now. I've got my little tab bar. See how beautiful that is? Took 2 seconds, and now I can. And when I click onto it, it'll tell me which one is live. I don't have my projects or services or contacts. That's why it's giving me this basic styling and saying I can't go there. But right now, my home page glows nicely blue, right? If I want my home page to glow nicely blue from the get-go, then I got to use a class of UI button active along with my nav. So I say, well, you know what? Inside my A tag, right? Inside my A tag, I need to use a class of, and this is now where jQuery mobile starts being detected, UI dash button active, right? And if I've done this correctly, let me just go back here, UI btn active, I'll be okay. UI button active. Once I've launched that thing, it's going to highlight my home page because that's the page I'm on right now, right? So here I am, UI button active. I'm going to run this thing again to see how it looks like. And now you can see my home button is not glowing anymore. It's on initially to home. That's where I'm at. Here's my home page content. If I click projects, it's not active. I don't have projects, services, and contact at all yet, right? Okay, cool. So that's one thing. And if I want my icon bar, right? Icon bar to be there, I can add that in here too. I can say, well, you know what? For my home button, I want to have data dash icon is equal to, maybe I have a home icon. Just going to choose home, right? So I'm going to add an icon there too automatically, right? And let's see, just for my home button, I'm going to add a home icon, and I'll refresh. Let's see what that does. Okay, boom, I got a home button, right? With my project, services, and contact already there, right? Really, really quickly. I'm building this out really nicely. I'm going to add from my projects, let's add another kind of data icon. Data dash icon is equal to what? So projects, let's see what they are. We've got a check mark, a forward, a gear. That's not bad. I like the gear for my projects. By the way, I'm going to show you how to use your own custom icons later on. Data dash icon for my services. Maybe I'll have some kind of menu, right? Not minus. Maybe a grid. And you know, for contact, I think it makes sense to kind of add something in there too. Data dash icon for contact as some kind of info, right? They don't have a phone from scratch, right? All right, so these are the basic icons that it comes with jQuery Mobile. And again, you should add your own. If I refresh, I have these different icons now, and there they are, right? So I've got, from the get-go, styling for my page. I can create my look and feel, right, as we go. And this is my welcome for home. If I click any one of these right now, it doesn't do anything because I don't have these pages. I haven't set up the wrappers for these pages yet. Well, let's do that. We almost have enough, right? We almost have enough. One thing I want to add it also from a, because the reason why I'm not creating that page right now is if I copy this right now, right, everything I do here, I need to copy in each page, right? And unless I create some kind of external thing. But otherwise, I want to create my nav bar really nicely. So when I copy my nav bar, I don't have to redo it, like go into the thing too much, right? So I got to think about other things I can do. Well, one thing I can do is a transition, right? So let's say if I want to do some kind of transition, I can go data dash, and I can start looking down here for different things I can do with data dash, right? And I can look at things like some kind of transition. Here's my transition that I can use. So when I click my home button, I want to do some kind of slide, like to emulate almost like an iPhone slide effect, right? So I want to take this data dash transition slide. I want to do it for every one of them. There's different ones. There's pop, there's flip, there's all these different ones. It makes it look nice, like an iPhone flipping, right? And that's one thing that the other pages can't do, right? So here's my data dash transition. Let's run this now, right? Now it won't show me anything because I'm not going anywhere, and it doesn't go to my services and contact page. So let's create my other pages really quickly. So I've got my home page wrapper here. I'm going to copy all this stuff all the way down to my footer, right? I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to go down here inside the same page, my index.html, copy it in there. And now this one, for my second one, is going to be called my projects. So here's my projects page wrapper, right? My ID's got to be projects, right? Because I got to change my ID for my anchor tag, right? My UI button active isn't going to be my home page anymore, so I'm going to move that from here, right? From here, I'm going to cut that out. I'm going to put it into projects, right? Because that's where I want it to be. My projects are going to be active. I got to change my welcome. Instead of welcome to home, let's just change my heading tag to projects, or my projects, right? And inside my content, just to show it's different, my project content goes here. Project content goes here. Okay? So I've got my projects wrapper, right? To show what this looks like, everything's done now, right? All I've done is copy everything. My UI button active was the only thing I moved over here to my projects class. If I run this thing, right? And if I've done things correctly, if I click projects, it does a slide, right? So it slides over to my project. If I click back, it goes to home. Hey, wait a minute. What happened to my UI? It's gone, right? Well, there's another little class you can put in there, which is UI state persist, right? So if I say UI, and if I say persist, something like that. No. It's there's a persistence that you can put on there. I forget what it's called now. There's another class of persist. Anyways, I'll figure it out. But what you can do is so that way when you go back, Ajax detects you've already been there, and it'll slide back your UI button active again. Because again, we're flipping between one anchor tag and another, and it's trying to detect where in the page we are. Right? That's what it's trying to do.
UI state persist.
I think it is. I think it's UI state persist as well. UI state. It just doesn't show me in my. It doesn't show me in my detection. So I'm just going to put this in there for now.
To the anchor class.
This is what we're doing. Anchor. We're in the anchor tag. So if I go here to my button active UI button, I got to put this in here as well. And every time I have UI button active, I also got to put this other class of UI state persist. And what I do is when I run it, it gives me that persistence, data persistence. So here, let me just refresh this thing. If I go to projects, it flips. If I go to home, it flips, and now my home button is colored properly with UI state persist. We're good, right? So this is good too, right? Back and back. Now, if you notice, it always flips in the same direction, right? But maybe I don't like that transition, right? Because I think that transition is no good, right? Well, let's say when I click, if I want to change it, I can change it for every nav bar, or I can change it, as an example, everywhere. And if I was to do that, I have to kind of recast my entire nav bar scheme, right? That's why I say do it the first time. Like fade, there's a flip, pop, a slide down, and a slide up, right? These are the basic ones. You can also design your own, right? Let's do it so that it's a flip instead of a. So when I go to projects, my data transition is going to be a flip. you know, as an example. So I'm going to just change that data transition over here as well to flip, right? But when I go back to home, it's going to be a slide. Okay? All right, let's try this out. Just to show you what it looks like here. So I'm going to refresh. Okay, I'm going to go projects, flip, right? Home, slide, right? So I can just change the transition. So it makes it look as you're creating your own little UI that looks very iPhone-like right now, or even Android-like, right? Okay, cool. This is good. So we've done this piece, and I've changed the data content in here. So you do that for each of your pages. So you have each page. So home, that's the wrapper. You just copy the whole wrapper over again and again for every one of your pages, quote unquote. But all they are is anchor tags within your main page, within your index.html document. Is a bunch of pages that you separated with this div wrapper, right? Or the wrapper for your data role. Okay. So if you wanted to do, these are the different transitions. We talked about transitions, where you can do fade, flips, and all this kind of stuff. And then, again, you can write your own custom transition. There's also these different kinds of buttons that you can use for jQuery Mobile, where you can use a delete button. You can actually have an attribute of data role with an attribute set to button, right? For an anchor tag. So let's say I want to create an anchor tag or a button within jQuery Mobile. I can do that by, let's say if I wanted to create a button inside my my projects, right? So inside my content, I want to put another anchor tag, right, with a data role of button. Right? Once I've done that and press tag, right, with my, let's say my button actually takes me back, I don't know, to my home, right? So it's another home kind of button. So my button will say home. I want to make an actual button on my content here. And this is inside of my projects content piece. This is my content of my projects page, right? If I run this now, right, as we're building our page up, right, I'm just going to refresh. Make sure we got the latest copy. I go to projects, flip. I have my home button, right? If you notice right here, click on it, and I'm back into home. Right? So I can make as many one of these little buttons as I want. Now there's some really cool things you can do with buttons, right? Because I can add icons for my buttons too. A data dash icon of whatever I want in here as well. Remember, it adds into the data to the anchor tag here. So I can go like data dash icon, as an example, is equal to, and I can choose something like a back arrow, right? Here's my back arrow, right? And instead of button as the name, I can call this back, right? And let's just go do that. Now the back arrow will only take me back to the home page, right? So I got to be careful when I use this thing, right? Because it may not make contextual sense to use it where I'm using it, right? So now I'm going to go back to my projects. Here's back. And if you have this little, see this little icon that goes there, click back, and all of a sudden back I'm on my home page again, right? And I didn't choose the transition, so the data transition for my home button is going to be whatever my other default is, which is like a pop, right? If I want to do a fade, I can add that transition into my button as well, just like I normally have in my nav bar. So I can go like data dash transition, and I can choose a fade as an example. Okay, and if I run it again, right? If I go home, projects, and I go back, I fades. That's the fade. That's the default. Or if I want to do slide up, so instead of a fade, I want to do slide, some kind of slide up.
It's an icon.
Thank you. I'll be all right. I want to do a slide up, right? So it slides from underneath, right? Just because to make it just different, show you the transitions. That's really what this is, just a demo, right? Then I can simply, when I go to my projects page and click the button, then it'll slide back up from the bottom. It's really cool, huh? I don't know if you don't like it, but the slide's the better one, right? Makes sense. The slide or the flip makes sense more than anything else, right? And again, you would use the context that makes sense for you, for your application. These are basic animations that are built in, but you could add in your own. Okay, so Cool. We've talked about buttons and a nav bar. This is really important. And we've also talked about how you can copy your page wrapper over and over again and change your UI button active, UI state persist for each of the wrappers. Let's just quickly create the other pages, and then we'll end there for today, right? Because we're going to cover jQuery Mobile again next week, because we need to, because it's your assignment, right? So here is services. This is my services page wrapper, right? We're going to change my ID to services here. And we have to change this, we have to kind of port this class UI state persist, UI button active. I'm going to cut and paste it in my services area, right? Because I need to put it here on or before my data icon or after. It doesn't matter. As long as it's within my 8 anchor tag, I'm good to go. So that's one thing I got to do. I'm not going to say welcome to home. It's going to just say my services, let's say. And I don't have any other content. Let's say your services content goes here, right? Cool. Okay, now I'm going to copy that page again, and we'll do the last page, which is contacts. And contacts can be really interesting because you can put it in a form that we're going to use. This is right on the bottom now. And you're going to see how there's things we could have done to copy into our first page. It's important to do the first page right. Otherwise, the rest of the page will look like crap. All right, so we're going to go into my contact now. So this is where we're going to go right here before here. So this is the UI state persist, UI active, right? I've done this, right? I've taken it out of where it was. And of course, this isn't home anymore. This is contacts. I got to use the same thing, contacts. That's what it won't go properly. And maybe I want to say contact me, right? And then the other thing I want to put in here is some kind of, your contact info goes here, or contacts info goes here, right? Now remember, I'm doing this live, so anything I do here you can use right from GitHub if you wanted to. But there's some really awesome examples, way better examples of on stuff when you from the things you downloaded. If you downloaded the actual jQuery mobile stuff, you would have it. All the demos. There's amazing demos. They've got some really good examples of how this thing would work. So let's try this out now. So we've got some basic styling now for each of the pages. I'm going to click projects. I get my button. I can keep going with services. I'm going to do a slide. Here's my contacts. It gives me the slide. My contact info. And if you notice on the top, it changes, so we know we're going to another page. Back to my home page. Back to my projects. Back to my home page. It does all that kind of stuff, and it's built in. It took us what, half an hour to kind of bring out the structure of my page, right? Guys, check this out on your phone. So go home, you create your page for yourself, throw it up on a live server, and when you check it on your phone, go to my site, go to Tsiriopolis.com on your phone right now, and you'll see how it looks. Here, I'll show you what it looks like. Now again, my site is very basic. You can use that as a basis, so you can look at that right now. If I go to my site, and again, for the folks online who are watching this online live, you can't see this. There's my phone, right? And if I click on my my pages, it'll do all the same transitions, just like I normally would do here. If I go to the side, it flips, so it actually has that side capability. I can disable orientation. I can choose. I can use my CSS to detect orientation changes, so I can restyle my page if I want to as well. But for now, it gives you a pretty good page, right? So your stuff can work. And I've used custom icons on my page, so you can see how that works out. We'll talk about custom icons and how to style your basic jQuery mobile page next time with me. Okay? Any questions around this stuff? jQuery mobile. Again, it's for your assignment number 2, where we're targeting mobile, and we just as a recap, we've kind of covered a couple things. One is your user agent string to detect the mobile phone, so we can kind of redirect ourselves to this mobile site. And then we use jQuery mobile, or by the way, Ratchet is another great little, I mentioned it before, I should go there to show you. we haven't seen it, what it does. I'm not going to show you what it does. I'm not going to show you Ratchet, but Ratchet is actually, let me see if there's Ratchet mobile kind of thing is where we want to go. And if you go to Go Ratchet, right, this is another little thing where you want to build mobile apps, right? You can do that with Ratchet. And there's a whole, you can download and install. There's some really excellent examples here in Ratchet as well about how this would look. They've got some live examples, like they did an Android's Note app. This is what it looks like, right? So it almost looks very Android-like for, you know, right through the web, right? So all the regular functionality that you would get, there's a lot of stuff here where you can use a very slim library to give you the look and feel of a mobile app. Okay, and that's it for me for today.